Welcome to English Easy Hub. Join us as we ignite the flames of your English learning journey together.
Please subscribe to watch and embark on your English learning journey. Don't miss out on the exciting content. This conversation centers on the importance of English proficiency when interviewing for positions at multinational companies. It highlights how English goes beyond mere communication, serving as a tool for demonstrating professionalism, adaptability, and global competence. The dialogue explores practical techniques for showcasing English skills naturally, handling common interview scenarios like small talk, strengths and weaknesses, and addressing cultural nuances. The professor provides in-depth strategies for improving clarity, confidence, and relevance in English communication during interviews, ensuring the candidate leaves a lasting positive impression.
Good morning, Professor. I've been preparing for job interviews, particularly with multinational companies, and I realized the importance of English. Could you share some insights into why English is crucial for such interviews and how I can effectively showcase my language skills?
Good morning, Andy. It's great that you're being proactive about this. English is not just a language for communication in multinational companies. It's a gateway to demonstrating professionalism, adaptability, and a global mindset. Many international firms use English as their primary language because it's the most widely spoken business language globally. Showing proficiency in English during an interview signals that you're ready to collaborate across diverse teams and handle international responsibilities.
That makes sense. But what specific aspects of English should I focus on during the interview? Is it just about fluency, or are there other factors that matter?
Excellent question. Fluency is only one aspect. You'll also want to focus on clarity, precision, and appropriateness. For instance, you should be able to express complex ideas succinctly and professionally. Grammar and pronunciation are important, but not everything. What truly stands out is your ability to use the language confidently and adaptively in real-world situations. Additionally, understanding cultural nuances and using formal business vocabulary appropriately can set you apart.
That sounds challenging. How can I practice these skills effectively?
Start by engaging with authentic materials such as business articles, professional podcasts, and case studies. Practice speaking by participating in mock interviews or discussion groups. Record yourself answering common interview questions and evaluate your clarity and tone. For cultural nuances, familiarize yourself with corporate etiquette, how people communicate, negotiate, and even structure emails in English-speaking environments.
When it comes to answering questions, how do I make my responses more impactful in English?
Use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. This framework helps you organize your answers logically and ensure they're impactful. For example, if asked about problem solving, start by describing a situation you faced, outline your task, explain the action you took, and finish with the result. Keep your language direct and professional, and don't be afraid to use industry-specific terminology to show expertise.
I like the STAR method. But what if I get nervous and forget what I plan to say?
That's a common concern, Andy. To counter this, practice mindfulness techniques to stay calm and composed. When answering questions, take a moment to gather your thoughts instead of rushing. It's perfectly acceptable to pause briefly or say, "That's an interesting question. Let me think about it for a moment." Also, practice paraphrasing. If you forget an exact word or phrase, find another way to express your idea. Flexibility is key.
What about cultural differences in interviews? How can I avoid making mistakes?
A very insightful question. Cultural sensitivity is critical. For instance, in many Western interview contexts, direct eye contact is viewed as a sign of confidence, but in some cultures, it can be uncomfortable. Similarly, it's important to strike the right tone, neither too formal nor overly casual. Research the company's culture beforehand. If it's an American firm, you might want to show enthusiasm and highlight individual achievements. If it's a European company, you might focus more on teamwork and problem solving.
Should I also ask questions at the end of the interview? If so, what kinds of questions are appropriate?
Absolutely. Asking questions shows genuine interest and a proactive attitude. Avoid generic questions. Instead, tailor them to the company or role. For example, how does the company support professional development? Or what are some key challenges the team is currently facing, and how can this role contribute to addressing them? These questions demonstrate curiosity, thoughtfulness, and a desire to add value.
Finally, do you think using idioms or advanced vocabulary makes a better impression?
That depends on the context. Using idioms sparingly and appropriately can make your speech sound more natural, but overusing them might come across as forced. Focus on clear, concise language. Advanced vocabulary is valuable if it's relevant to the discussion, but avoid using jargon for the sake of it. The goal is to communicate effectively, not to impress with complexity.
Thank you so much, Professor. This has been incredibly helpful. I'll start integrating these tips into my preparation.
You're welcome, Andy. Remember, confidence and preparation go hand in hand. Keep practicing, and I'm sure you'll excel. Good luck.
Thank you, Professor. One more thing, how can I show my English skills naturally without sounding rehearsed or robotic during the interview?
That's a crucial point, Andy. Over-rehearsing can make your answers sound scripted. To avoid this, focus on preparing key points rather than memorizing entire responses. Think of each question as a conversation starter rather than a test. Engage with the interviewer, listen carefully to their questions, and respond thoughtfully. It's also helpful to practice with a variety of questions to develop spontaneity. Use real-life examples in your answers. They'll sound more authentic and give the interviewer a glimpse of your personality.
I see. Speaking of listening, how important is it to show strong listening skills in an interview? How can I demonstrate that?
Strong listening skills are just as important as speaking well. They show that you're attentive, respectful, and eager to understand the company's needs. You can demonstrate this by maintaining eye contact, nodding occasionally, and responding directly to what the interviewer says. For instance, if they mention a challenge the company is facing, you could say, "That's interesting. I recently worked on a project addressing a similar issue." This not only proves you're listening, but also creates a bridge to highlight your skills.
That's a great point. But what if I don't understand a question or need clarification? Is it okay to ask the interviewer to repeat or rephrase?
Absolutely. Asking for clarification is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of professionalism. You could say, "I want to ensure I understand your question correctly. Could you please elaborate? Or could you rephrase that?" This shows that you're thoughtful and care about providing a relevant answer. Just avoid doing this too frequently, as it might suggest a lack of understanding.
What about small talk at the beginning of the interview? How can I handle that effectively in English?
Small talk is a vital part of building rapport. The key is to strike a balance between being personable and professional. Common topics include the weather, the commute, or something relevant about the company, like recent news. For example, "I read about the launch of your new product. It must be an exciting time for your team." Keep it light and genuine. Avoid overly personal or controversial topics. A warm smile and positive energy go a long way in making a great first impression.
That's helpful. Let's say I'm asked a question about weaknesses. How do I handle that in English without undermining myself?
Great question. When discussing weaknesses, the goal is to show self-awareness and a commitment to improvement. Choose a real but non-critical weakness and frame it positively. For instance, I sometimes focus too much on details, but I've been working on stepping back to see the bigger picture by prioritizing tasks more effectively. This approach shows that you're reflective and proactive about personal growth.
That's clever. What if I'm asked about strengths? How can I make my answer memorable?
For strengths, focus on qualities that align with the role and provide specific examples. Instead of saying, "I'm a good team player," say, "I excel at fostering collaboration." For example, in my previous role, I led a team project where I ensured everyone's input was valued, which resulted in a 20% increase in efficiency. Concrete examples make your strengths credible and memorable.
I see. What if the interviewer challenges me with a hypothetical scenario? How can I tackle those effectively?
Hypothetical questions test your problem-solving and critical thinking skills. Approach them systematically. First, clarify the problem if needed. Then, break down your answer into steps. Analyze the situation, outline potential actions, and justify your choice. Use clear and logical language. For example, if asked how you'd handle a tight deadline, you might say, "I'd first assess the scope of the task, prioritize the most critical elements, and communicate with the team to delegate effectively. By focusing on collaboration, I'd ensure we meet the deadline without compromising quality."
That's really practical advice. Lastly, how can I wrap up the interview in a way that leaves a strong final impression?
Always end on a positive and professional note. When the interviewer asks if you have any final questions, thank them for the opportunity and express enthusiasm for the role. You might say, "Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I'm very excited about the possibility of contributing to your team. Could you share what the next steps in the process might look like?" This shows gratitude, enthusiasm, and confidence.
Thank you so much, Professor. This conversation has been incredibly insightful. I feel much more prepared and confident about my upcoming interviews.
You're very welcome, Andy. Remember, preparation, adaptability, and authenticity are your greatest allies. Trust yourself, and I'm sure you'll make an excellent impression. Best of luck, you've got this.
The discussion offers a comprehensive guide to excelling in interviews with multinational companies by leveraging English effectively. Key takeaways include mastering the STAR method for structured responses, demonstrating active listening, handling challenges like hypothetical questions or misunderstood prompts, and closing interviews on a confident note. The dialogue emphasizes preparation, adaptability, and authenticity as the cornerstones of successful communication. By applying these insights, candidates can not only improve their English proficiency, but also stand out as confident, capable professionals in competitive global job markets.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share to keep the English learning journey alive.